What if Boromir survived the breaking of the Fellowship? Hello everyone and welcome to the Storyteller's Codex, where we dive deep into the fantasy genre. Today we will be talking about Boromir, the brave son of Gondor, a valiant warrior with an unshakable sense of duty to his people. His story ended in tragedy when the Fellowship broke at Amon Hen. But what if it didn't? What if Boromir survived? How would his presence have changed the course of Middle-earth's most pivotal moments? Would the final stand against Sauron have been stronger with Gondor's mightiest warrior alive? Let's dive deep into the lore of Middle-earth and unravel this fascinating alternate timeline. In the original timeline, Boromir's self-sacrifice allowed Merry and Pippin to escape, while Aragorn, Legolas and Gimli regrouped. But let's shift the narrative. Imagine this. Boromir, though gravely wounded, is saved by Aragorn in the nick of time. Aragorn's healing skills, honed during his years as a ranger, stabilise Boromir, preventing his death. With arrows still lodged in his body, Boromir's will to live, driven by his devotion to Gondor and his companions, becomes a testament to his unyielding spirit. Aragorn, Legolas and Gimli form a protective barrier as they retreat to safety, knowing that time is of the essence. This single event ripples across the timeline. Aragorn's decision to save Boromir delays their pursuit of the Uruk-hai. As Legolas and Gimli stand watch, Aragorn uses his limited healing supplies to stabilise Boromir. The group debates their next move. Should they continue after Merry and Pippin, knowing that time is slipping away? Or should they focus on regrouping and ensuring Boromir's survival? This hesitation could mean Merry and Pippin endure more hardship, or it could lead to unexpected encounters along the way. With Boromir alive, Aragorn's leadership takes on a new dynamic. Boromir's near-death experience humbles him and strengthens his resolve to protect Frodo and ensure the ring's destruction. Together, they strategize their next steps. Boromir insists they head to Rohan, arguing that uniting the free peoples of Middle-earth must come first. Aragorn, though torn, agrees with Boromir's wisdom. The Fellowship's path veers slightly, setting the stage for alliances that will shape the fate of Middle-earth. Surviving Amon Hen doesn't come without its challenges. Boromir's internal struggle with the lure of the One Ring continues, haunting him in quiet moments. He reflects on how close he came to betraying Frodo and wrestles with the shame of his actions. Aragorn becomes both a confidant and a mentor, offering wisdom rooted in his own struggles with doubt. Boromir's guilt becomes a catalyst for his redemption arc, driving him to vow that his life will now be one of unwavering service to the Fellowship and to Middle-earth. This confession not only deepens his bond with Aragorn, but also strengthens his commitment to the mission ahead. As Boromir recovers, he becomes an active part of the group once again. He trains alongside Aragorn, not only to regain his physical strength, but to sharpen his tactical mind. His renewed camaraderie with the Fellowship breathes new life into their journey. Boromir's leadership begins to shine as he shares knowledge of Gondor's history and strengths, inspiring both Legolas and Gimli. His humility and newfound determination resonate with the group, reminding them all of the stakes of their quest. This transformation marks Boromir as a figure of resilience and hope within the Fellowship. The decision to save Boromir delays their pursuit of the Uruk-hai, meaning the Fellowship never reaches Fangorn Forest in time to witness Gandalf's transformation into Gandalf the White. Without Gandalf's magical intervention, Theoden remains under Saruman's influence through Wormtongue. Recognizing this, Aragorn and Boromir shift their focus. While scouting Rohan's countryside, they encounter Eomer and his band of Rohirrim, exiled by Theoden under Wormtongue's influence. Initially distrustful, Eomer is persuaded by Boromir's passion and Aragorn's sincerity. The duo emphasizes the shared threat posed by Saruman's forces. Eomer agrees to lend his riders to help fortify Helm's Deep, realizing that the survival of Rohan depends on unity. This pivotal moment redirects the Fellowship's efforts, setting the stage for the critical battle ahead. The air is heavy with tension as the forces of Rohan and the Fellowship prepare for what could be their final stand. With Gandalf off on his vital mission, Aragorn and Boromir focus every ounce of their leadership on fortifying Helm's Deep. Boromir, drawing on his extensive experience as Gondor's captain, trains farmers and blacksmiths to fight like soldiers, while Aragorn rallies the spirit of the people. Together with Eomer's riders, the once scattered defenders of Rohan find new strength and resolve. Helm's Deep becomes a fortress not just of stone, but of hope. Far from Helm's Deep, Gandalf the White arrives at Edoras under a shroud of urgency. Theoden, a shadow of the king he once was, sits ensnared by Saruman's dark magic, whispered into his ear by Wormtongue, but Gandalf, radiant and commanding, will not be denied. His staff shines like a beacon as he breaks the spell, restoring Theoden to his former self. Theoden rises, his resolve as sharp as the sword he now wields. The King of Rohan vows to gather what troops he can and ride to the aid of Helm's Deep before it's too late. The ground shakes as Saruman's monstrous army of Uruk-hai marches to Helm's Deep. Night falls, and the first arrows pierce the dark sky. The walls of the Hornburg are battered with siege weapons, and chaos erupts. At the heart of it all, Boromir and Aragorn stand shoulder to shoulder, leading the defence with unmatched courage. Boromir's mighty horn cuts through the din, its sound a rallying cry that lifts the spirits of the defenders. Their bond as leaders and warriors unites the disparate forces, holding the line even as the walls begin to buckle. The Hornburg is on the brink of collapse, and yet Boromir does not falter. At the breached wall he commands a desperate counterattack, his sword flashing like lightning amidst the tide of Uruk-hai. His words, full of fire and conviction, remind the defenders of Gondor's unyielding strength and the bond between their peoples. Meanwhile, Aragorn takes a daring risk, leading a small force to intercept reinforcements heading for the gates. Together, their efforts buy precious time and keep hope alive. And then, just as the light of dawn begins to break, a horn answers Boromir's call. Theoden arrives, leading the riders of Rohan in a thunderous charge down the hill, with Gandalf blazing at their head. The sight ignites a spark of unrelenting determination in the defenders of Helm's Deep. The Uruk-hai, caught between the unyielding defenders inside and the riders outside, crumble under the onslaught. The battle turns, and victory is within reach. The smoke clears, and the fields outside Helm's Deep are littered with the remnants of Saruman's once unstoppable army. But amidst the loss and exhaustion, there is hope. Boromir stands with Aragorn, his armour battered but his spirit unbroken. "We are stronger together," he says, his voice heavy with both weariness and resolve. Aragorn nods, the weight of their mission more apparent than ever. Helm's Deep stands, not just as a fortress, but as a symbol of what unity can achieve. And so, with new alliances forged and their resolve hardened, they turn their gaze to Gondor and the challenges yet to come. The victory at Helm's Deep is hard won, but the war is far from over. The leaders of Rohan and the Fellowship know their next step, Minas Tirith. Boromir's words carry a special urgency as he speaks of his brother Faramir, valiantly holding the ruins of Osgiliath. Legolas and Gimli, still vying in their playful rivalry, even in the face of war, bring a sense of camaraderie to the grim march. The sight of the united force inspires scattered refugees to join their cause, bolstering their strength with every mile. As they pass through Isengard, they see the aftermath of the Ent's fury. Saruman's tower, surrounded by a lake of ruin, stands as a monument to his downfall. Gandalf confronts Saruman, offering him one last chance to repent. Boromir watches, his hand gripping his sword tightly at the sight of the traitor. Legolas and Gimli exchange wary glances, their weapons ready. When Saruman refuses, Gandalf casts him from the Order, sealing his fate in isolation. The group leaves Isengard behind, knowing their fight is far from over. Upon reaching Minas Tirith, Boromir's first question is of his brother. Learning of Faramir's struggle in Osgiliath, Boromir rides out to aid him. The brothers' reunion is heartfelt but brief, as they focus on bolstering the city's defences. With Boromir now at his side, Faramir finds renewed strength and hope. Together they organise the soldiers, turning despair into determination. The people of Gondor, seeing Boromir alive and leading once more, find their morale soaring. With Boromir now leading Gondor's defences, Aragorn faces a critical decision. Gandalf urges him to claim his birthright, and Legolas and Gimli stand ready to follow wherever he leads. The three decide to seek the aid of the dead men of Dun Harrow, a gamble that could tip the scales of the war. Boromir, meanwhile, vows to hold Minas Tirith with Faramir until Aragorn's return. Their parting is solemn but filled with mutual respect. As the tension builds, Pippin takes it upon himself to light the beacon, Gondor's desperate call for aid. Flames leap from peak to peak, carrying the message to Edoras. Theoden, without hesitation, rallies his riders, declaring, "Rohan will answer." Legolas and Gimli, standing atop the walls of Minas Tirith, watch as the fires blaze. It is a signal of hope, a promise of unity, and a warning to Sauron. The free peoples will not yield. The brothers stand together, gazing toward Mordor. "This city will not fall," Boromir says, his voice filled with unshakable resolve. Faramir nods, his hand gripping his bow. "Not while we stand," he replies. Below them, the city prepares for the onslaught. Meanwhile, Aragorn, Legolas and Gimli ride toward the paths of the dead, carrying the weight of the free people's last hope. The siege of Minas Tirith is about to begin, and the fate of Middle-earth hangs in the balance. The shadow of Mordor stretches across the fields of Pelennor as the first wave of Sauron's army crashes against the walls of Minas Tirith. Boromir stands on the battlements, his horn cutting through the ominous silence before the battle. Alongside him is Faramir, his brother, rallying the soldiers of Gondor with words of courage. The defenders, bolstered by Boromir's keen strategic mind and Faramir's tactical brilliance, hold the line against the relentless assault. Arrows rain down, the city trembles, but the resolve of Gondor holds stronger than ever before. Just as hope begins to waver, the sound of horns echoes across the plains. Theoden and the riders of Rohan arrive in a thunderous charge, their banners flying high. Boromir's eyes meet Theoden's as the king leads his riders into the fray, their arrival breathing new life into the defenders. This time, Minas Tirith's walls have not fallen so easily, thanks to Boromir's leadership. The combined might of Gondor and Rohan begins to shift the momentum, but the battle is far from over. As the battle rages, the Witch King of Angmar descends upon the field, his presence spreading dread among the defenders. Mounted on his fell beast, he focuses his dark sorcery on the gates, but Boromir's defensive preparations slow the assault. Boromir, undeterred, leads a charge to repel the Nazgul, his shield raised high against their dread. Faramir stands by his brother's side, and together they lead their men with unmatched valour. Meanwhile, Éowyn and Merry prepare for their fateful confrontation with the Witch King, their courage shining amidst the chaos. The battlefield teeters on the brink of despair as the black sails of the Corsair ships appear on the horizon. Fear grips the defenders of Minas Tirith, but it is short-lived. Aragorn, fulfilling his oath to the dead men of Dunharrow, arrives at Pelennor Fields with an army of Gondor's reclaimed warriors. Legolas and Gimli fight fiercely beside him, their camaraderie inspiring the men around them. Boromir and Aragorn meet amidst the fray, their bond as leaders unbreakable as they work together to turn the tide. The battlefield becomes a maelstrom of light and shadow as the forces of good push back against Mordor. Boromir leads a daring counterattack, his horns sounding above the chaos as he rallies the men of Gondor. Theoden, though gravely injured, inspires the Rohirrim with one final charge. Aragorn, wielding Anduril, leads his reinforcements in a decisive strike, cutting through Sauron's forces like a beacon of hope. Together they shatter the enemy's ranks. Unlike the original timeline, Gondor's walls have held longer thanks to Boromir's leadership, preventing further devastation within the city itself. As the smoke clears and the sun rises over the battlefield, the forces of Sauron are in full retreat. Boromir surveys the field, his armour scarred but his spirit unbroken. Aragorn places a hand on his shoulder, their shared resolve unspoken but deeply understood. Faramir, weary but alive, stands beside them, the bond between the brothers stronger than ever. With Minas Tirith better defended and the city still standing tall, the defenders have won not just a battle, but a critical advantage in the war. Yet the road to Mordor remains. Together they turn their gaze toward the Black Gate, where the final chapter of their journey awaits. With Minas Tirith secured, the leaders of the Free Peoples make a bold decision. Knowing Frodo and Sam must reach Mount Doom to destroy the One Ring, they march on the Black Gate to draw Sauron's eye. Boromir and Aragorn walk side by side, their shared purpose uniting the armies behind them. Legolas and Gimli share wary banter, their friendship a source of strength for the weary soldiers. Ahead lies the shadow of Mordor, a threat that looms larger with every step. At the foot of the Black Gate, Aragorn and Boromir step forward, their voices ringing out with defiance. "Let the Dark Lord come forth," Aragorn demands, his sword Anduril gleaming in the dim light. Boromir adds his challenge, his horn echoing across the desolate plain. Sauron's forces respond with fury, the gates creaking open to unleash a torrent of orcs, trolls, and worse. The Free Peoples brace for the onslaught, their resolve unwavering. The battle is fierce and unrelenting. Boromir fights at the forefront, his shield raised against the storm of orcs, his sword cutting through the tide. Aragorn commands the field with precision, rallying the men to hold their ground. Legolas's arrows strike true, while Gimli carves a path through the enemy ranks. Amidst the chaos, Gandalf's presence is a beacon of hope, his staff blazing as he counters the shadowy spells of the Nazgul. As the battle rages, Sauron's forces threaten to overwhelm the defenders. Boromir, bloodied but unyielding, fights alongside Aragorn at the heart of the melee. Legolas and Gimli guard the flanks, their friendship and skill keeping the enemy at bay. Gandalf, sensing the critical moment, urges them to hold on just a little longer. The air grows heavy as Sauron's gaze fixes on the battlefield, his will pressing down on all who stand against him. Unknown to the defenders, Frodo and Sam reach the heart of Mount Doom. As Frodo hesitates, the struggle for the ring comes to its fateful conclusion. Gollum's greed leads him to seize the ring, only to fall into the fiery chasm. The ring is destroyed, and with it, Sauron's power shatters. Back at the Black Gate, the enemy falters, their ranks breaking as the Dark Lord's will collapses. As the shadow lifts, the battlefield falls silent. Aragorn and Boromir stand amidst the ruins, their armour battered but their spirits unbroken. The remaining forces of Gondor and Rohan cheer as the realization dawns, the war is over. Boromir, reflecting on the journey, speaks with humility. Today, we have seen the strength of unity. Aragorn places a hand on his shoulder and nods, knowing that the sacrifices made have ensured peace for Middle-earth. The Fellowship, though scarred and weary, is reunited as the Age of Men begins. In this alternate timeline, Boromir's survival becomes a beacon of hope for Middle-earth. His redemption inspires others, his leadership strengthens the Free Peoples, and his loyalty ensures Aragorn's rise as king. Together, they rebuild a brighter future for Gondor and all of Middle-earth. Boromir, standing steadfast at Aragorn's side, exemplifies the unity and strength that defined their victory over Sauron. What do you think? Would Boromir's survival have turned the tide, or would his presence have introduced new challenges? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more Middle-earth theories and lore deep dives. Until next time, may the stars of Elbereth guide you.